Tonight, breaking news, there are tornadoes touching down right now. Also tonight, an earthquake, a tsunami warning for part of the U.S. The passenger jet midair sparks shooting from an engine, and another plane. Authorities feared a terror incident, calling in F-15s. That pilot now under arrest. Tonight, tornadoes on the ground as we come on. Tornado and severe thunderstorm watches across several states, and the flood alerts in the east, Washington, D.C. to Philadelphia. Major rain possible again. And more than 70 million Americans on alert tonight for extreme heat, including New York City. Lee Goldberg is here with the forecast. Also breaking, the powerful earthquake late today, a 7.3 off Alaska, triggering that tsunami warning. Tonight, that passenger jet taking off from Los Angeles, sparks coming from an engine. Passengers locking hands as the plane tipped to one side. And tonight, another incident in the air, the plane with a suspect in the cockpit. Flying that plane, authorities thought they were dealing with a terror incident. F-15s called in, and then the arrest tonight. This evening, President Trump, amid major questions still in the Jeffrey Epstein case, the president now lashing out at some of his own supporters, saying, "I don't need your support," calling them stupid people. Meantime, even some Republicans tonight now calling for a special counsel. Tonight, the American Idol producer and her songwriter husband found shot to death in separate rooms. Now a suspect in custody, and what we've learned tonight. The breaking news from the Capitol at this hour, a suspect under arrest, found heavily armed near the Capitol with an assault-style rifle, a handgun, ammunition, and a hatchet. Overseas tonight, the Israeli military launching airstrikes in Syria, an explosion forcing a TV anchor in Syria to take cover on live TV. Back in the U.S. tonight, the images authorities say showing an alleged kidnapping attempt, the victim kicking and screaming, trying to get away. Tonight, former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama breaking their silence together. What they're now saying about any talk of divorce. And the ESPY Awards coming up live tonight on ABC, and our Will Reeve standing by on the red carpet for us.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Wednesday night. And as we come on tonight, there are multiple reported tornadoes on the ground, severe storms slamming the Midwest and in New York City and much of the East, this dangerous heat and this new flash flood threat at this hour. Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia, right up into New Jersey and the Northeast. This massive tornado touching down in Dodgeville, Wisconsin. The images coming in from west of Madison at this hour. The moment a funnel cloud approaches I-90 in central Wisconsin, and the wind and rain right there along with it. The dark skies tonight over Chicago as severe weather moves in, ground stops at the airports there. And in the Northeast at this hour, bracing for major rain in already saturated areas again tonight. Up to 3 inches of rain per hour expected in some areas, including North Plainfield, New Jersey, of course, already hit hard by flooding earlier this week. Lee Goldberg is here with the forecast and the timing of these storms tonight, and ABC's Morgan Norwood with the images already coming in tonight.
Tornado on the ground.
Tonight, tornadoes touching down as powerful heat-fueled thunderstorms target the Midwest. WKOW Madison Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hopman tracking a confirmed tornado west of the city today.
If you are near or in any one of those communities, this is your time to find your safe spot.
Madison, Milwaukee, and Chicago all in the crosshairs through tonight. In the Northeast, after that deluge that swamped the New York City subway and brought up to 3 inches of rain in an hour to parts of New Jersey. Families trying to clean up in dangerous heat while bracing for more floods. Meanwhile, in Arizona, those fires that burned the historic Grand Canyon Lodge and dozens of other structures continue to rage. Our Faith Abube is there.
Smoke from the Dragon Bravo fire quickly filling up the canyon. The fire still burning out of control on the North Rim. Firefighters dealing with strong winds and lightning in the area and desperately need a downpour.
And we're learning more about that stunning whirling vortex from the Deer Creek fire in Utah. The National Weather Service says that was, in fact, an EF2 tornado with winds up to 122 miles per hour.
And David, the Northeast is facing a 1-2 weather punch, blistering heat with triple-digit feels-like temperatures from Philly up to Boston, followed by dangerous nighttime thunderstorms with flash flooding threats. David?
Morgan Norwood, thank you. Let's get more on this. Right to Chief Meteorologist Lee Goldberg of our New York station, WABC. Lee, of course, tracking it all as always. Hey, Lee.
Hey, David, it's the air you can wear here in New York City. We're getting some storms overnight, but more flood watches for the waterlogged Northeast. From D.C. up to Philly, we've had big-time storms pummeling Pennsylvania tonight. The storms arrive in New York during the overnight hours. And then we're going to have triple-digit feel-like readings tomorrow, over 100 degrees. New York City down to D.C., Richmond, those will fuel the storms tomorrow afternoon. Speaking of storms, severe weather over parts of Wisconsin. We've had multiple tornado reports. It's still pouring in Green Bay. There are severe storms down towards South Bend. This will be alleviated during the early evening hours. And then the tropical disturbance over the Florida Panhandle. As long as it stays along the coast, unlikely to become Dexter, but still a 40% chance of development. Regardless, it soaks Mississippi and Louisiana up to a half foot of rain or more. David?
Lee Goldberg back with us tonight. Lee, thank you. We are also tracking this powerful earthquake that struck late today right off Alaska, a 7.3 magnitude quake right off the coast, triggering a tsunami warning across some 700 miles. In fact, families were warned to move to higher ground. Let's get right to ABC's Kayna Whitworth with the images coming in. And Kayna, what do we know so far?
Yeah, David, that 700 miles you mentioned there runs along the southern coast of Alaska as well as the Alaskan Peninsula. And this happened after a magnitude 7.3 earthquake was recorded off the coast. It actually struck about 50 miles south of Sandpoint. So people there, David, bracing for large waves, residents and visitors racing to higher ground or moving further inland if they can. Tremors from the earthquake were felt throughout the region. Also, alarms were sounding in some of those larger communities like Kodiak, but also David here mentioning that the warning was downgraded to an advisory, and then that was canceled. David.
Kayna, we appreciate it. Now to the terrifying moments on a flight that took off from Los Angeles. Passengers hearing a very loud noise and then sparks shooting from the engine, holding hands as the plane then tipped to the side in the air. They could see this right outside their window, flames shooting from an engine there. Also tonight, we're following another incident in the air, a plane with a suspect in the cockpit flying the plane. Authorities thought they were dealing with a terror incident. F-15s called in, and then the arrest. And so Gio Benitez on both stories tonight.
Tonight, terrifying moments on this flight high above Los Angeles, flames and sparks seen shooting out of the engine.
There was this deafening clash, and it sounded like we'd hit another plane, and everyone screamed, and the plane tipped to the side, and everyone was screaming and holding hands.
The Boeing 737, carrying 172 passengers and crew, was headed to Minneapolis Monday morning. That engine issue happening shortly after takeoff.
Flight attendants reported sparks coming from the back of the engine and vibration.
The Sun Country Airlines flight safely, making an emergency landing back in L.A. and taxiing back to the gate. And authorities investigating another frightening incident. NORAD F-15s responding after a pilot stopped communicating with air traffic control, authorities suspecting it was hijacked.
We do have an aircraft that has been hijacked.
The small single-engine Cessna 172 circling the Vancouver airport on Tuesday, all traffic held in place.
Nobody knew whether the person had nefarious intent and intended to hurt themselves or to crash into somewhere on the Vancouver airport. So quite concerning.
Air traffic control alerting other pilots already in the air to take caution.
Is in the vicinity of the airport. I'm just going to let you know that so that you can continue looking out the window.
The suspect eventually landing the plane, police seen swooping in and taking him into custody. The aircraft searched.
And David, CTV in Canada says that the suspect allegedly wanted to disrupt airport operations as part of a climate change protest. We've not been able to confirm that on our own. Meanwhile, back in LA, the FAA is now investigating that engine issue. David.
Both of these incidents concerning tonight. Obviously, Gio, we appreciate it. There's also late news from the Capitol at this hour. A suspect now under arrest tonight, found heavily armed right near the Capitol. Authorities say the man from Oregon had an assault-style rifle, a handgun, ammunition, and a hatchet. Let's get right to our Chief Justice correspondent, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, what have you learned tonight?
David, tonight we have a strange scenario playing out on Capitol Hill. An Oregon man is under arrest after police discovered a cache of weapons in his car to include an assault-style rifle, a handgun, ammunition, a sword, a bow and arrow, and look closely. That's what appears to be a medieval-style hatchet and spear known as a halberd. Capitol Police and other agencies are doing a deep dive into the background of 23-year-old Nolan Churin, who was detained near one of the entrances to the U.S. Capitol to try to figure out what he was doing. Tonight, he's facing multiple charges, including illegal possession of a high-capacity magazine. David?
Yeah, those images are really quite something, Pierre. Thank you. Tonight, President Trump, amid major questions still in the Jeffrey Epstein case, the president now lashing out at some of his own supporters who are demanding answers about the Epstein files, calling them stupid people. Meantime, tonight, even some Republicans are now calling for a special counsel in this case. Here's our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce now.
Tonight, President Trump lashing out at some of his own supporters for demanding that the Justice Department release the files from the investigation into sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Trump calling the Epstein conspiracy theory, which his own top allies have pushed for years, a scam and a hoax, adding my past supporters have bought into this expletive, hook, line, and sinker.
They're stupid people.
Today in the Oval Office, I pressed him.
You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney general told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that?
Not the attorney general. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats.
But Trump and some of his closest allies were the ones who stoked shadowy theories about Epstein and his so-called client list. And Trump rewarded them. This was Kash Patel, who the president named FBI director.
What the hell are the House Republicans doing? They have the majority. You can't get the list? Put on your big boy pants and let us know who the pedophiles are.
Dan Bongino, who Trump named deputy FBI director.
I don't trust any story they tell me about Jeffrey Epstein. There is a reason this client list is hidden.
In 2023, the president's own son, Donald Trump Jr., demanded, show us all the Epstein client list now. In February, Attorney General Pam Bondi made clear reviewing and releasing the Epstein files was a top priority.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients? Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump.
But over the 4th of July weekend, the FBI and the Justice Department released a memo saying the client list never existed and that they will not be releasing any more information about Jeffrey Epstein. Since then, the outrage among some of the president's supporters has only grown.
Like, look, where's the Epstein files? Boo, can't find them. Don't exist. Like, they can get away with man.
Oh, yeah.
But Trump digging in.
Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that?
But tonight, one of the most influential voices in the MAGA movement says it's not enough.
We need Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel. Boom, 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 boom. It's been 10 days since you've leaked this thing on the holiday weekend, and you still have not done a straight to camera, straight to the sticks press conference. Here's what we looked for. Here's what actually existed. Here's why we reached the conclusion that we did.
And now some of the president's supporters are calling for a special counsel to investigate the Epstein files. Asked today if he would consider appointing one, the president said, quote, I have nothing to do with it. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House. Mary, thanks. We turn next tonight to the murders of a beloved American Idol producer and her songwriting husband. Both were found shot to death in separate rooms in their Los Angeles home. Well, tonight, investigators on when they believe this couple was killed and what they believe the couple walked in on. ABC's Trevor Ault on the scene again tonight.
Tonight, investigators searching for a motive in the gruesome murders of American Idol producer Robin Kay and her songwriter husband Thomas DeLuca. Police saying both were gunned down by a man who broke into their Los Angeles home.
Everything we have right now indicates that there's no prior relationship and this was a random act.
Detectives are now testing a gun they say they found in the home of the suspect, 22-year-old Raymond Budarian.
He was in there for approximately half an hour or so when the victims came home. There was a confrontation that ensued, which resulted in the victims receiving multiple gunshot wounds.
Police say they found the couple Monday during a welfare check 4 days after the shooting. But officers were there last Thursday responding to reports of a suspect scaling a fence at the home.
I was the first one to respond. I was here before the police.
Tim Pingle says he heard the police scanner and was live streaming when officers arrived.
They were here for actually about 6 minutes and then the helicopter and they just took off.
Police say they saw no signs of forced entry from the ground or from their helicopter.
David, the LAPD says they'll look into the officers' response. They did not have probable cause to enter the home the day of the shooting last Thursday. Meantime, the suspect is due in court tomorrow. David.
All right, Trevor Old on this again tonight. Trevor, thank you. Overseas tonight, we're following the images coming in from Syria at this hour. Israel conducting airstrikes on Damascus, striking the defense ministry and right near the presidential palace. An anchor on live TV in Syria jumping for cover, and you'll see this. Let's get right to our chief international correspondent, James Longman, tracking the situation and, of course, these images coming in. James?
Yeah, David, Israel says they were striking military targets in the Syrian capital, Damascus, and they were caught on live TV. You can see the anchor jump from her desk when the first missile hits. Moments later, more strikes pound the building. This is right in the center of a busy residential area. At least 3 people were killed, 18 others injured. These strikes are part of a larger pattern. The new government in Syria is still weak and fragmented. It is struggling to control extremist gangs who are accused of brutal violence against minority groups. But President Trump does seem to want to give the new President Ahmadinejad a chance, at least. He cancelled sanctions on Syria just weeks ago. David?
James Longman, who has covered Syria for years for us. James, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight, the Trump administration has fired 17 immigration judges without cause, according to the union representing them. It comes amid a critical shortage of judges and as ICE continues to ramp up arrests. The union tonight saying there are only 600 judges, while Congress has authorized 800. Critics tonight calling the firings politically motivated. When we come back tonight, the Obamas and this talk of divorce. Next here, former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama breaking their silence together on all this speculation and what they said side by side. You'll see it. And look at this, the alarming images tonight, authorities say, showing an alleged kidnapping attempt. You can see, and of course, you can hear the victim kicking and screaming, trying to get away in a moment here. Tonight, those alarming images, the attempted kidnapping. Police say newly released video shows the attempted kidnapping in St. Augustine, Florida, south of Jacksonville. You can hear the woman screaming, kicking as a suspect tries to force her into a pickup truck after allegedly robbing a store last month. She did break free. The suspect was arrested. And even though this is difficult to listen to, authorities say she did everything right here, fighting and screaming to attract attention, and that it worked. When we come back here tonight, former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama speaking together about all this talk of divorce. You'll hear what they said here in just a moment. And then the ESPY Awards live here on ABC tonight, so our Will Reeve is standing by for us. Tonight, former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama breaking their silence on all this speculation about their marriage and rumors of divorce. The former president joining his wife and brother-in-law on their podcast, and this is what they said.
There hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting my man. And we've had some really hard times, so we have had a lot of fun times, a lot of adventures, and I have become a better person because of the man I'm married to.
Okay, don't make me cry now. Right at the beginning of the show.
The Obamas married in Chicago in 1992. The former president has often said that Michelle Obama made him stronger. When we come back tonight, the ESPY Awards just moments away right here on ABC. And so Will Reeve standing by with what to look for tonight. Finally tonight here, the ESPY Awards live right here on ABC just a short time from now, celebrating athletes and their achievements and, of course, their strength both on and off the field. And so our Will Reeve is on the red carpet with what to look for tonight.
Tonight, it's the biggest event celebrating the greatest in sports, the ESPYs.
What was that? No one's ever done this.
The star-studded evening honoring the top athletes and most incredible moments from the past season.
3 letters, MVP.
With awards including Best Team, Best Play, and Best Male and Female Athletes as voted on by fans. And tonight, we already know some of the names. Former WNBA legend Diana Taurasi and former soccer star Alex Morgan will each be presented with the Icon Award. Oscar Robertson, the NBA great, will be following in our Robin Roberts' footsteps, winning the Arthur Ashe Award for Courage. And here in Los Angeles, so devastated by and still reeling from those wildfires earlier this year, they'll honor first responders with the Pat Tillman Award for Service. Tonight, all the fan favorites and biggest stars will be right here, cheering on with the rest of us this memorable, record-breaking season.
And David, get this astonishing number, $265 million. That's how much money the ESPYs have helped raise for the V Foundation for Cancer Research. That's the charity founded by the late basketball coach Jim Valvano, along with ESPN. All of this fun, this glitz and glamour, it is for a good cause as well. And it all gets going here on the red carpet and in the Dolby Theater in just moments, David.
All right, looking dapper, Will. Thanks. Great assignment for you, and we can't wait. The ESPYs air tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN+. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.